Welcome to Pod Save Live here in the studio.
Y'all ready?
Na, na, na.
Just trying to sound as old as we can.
That's a no. Space Jam was sick. It's
was
coming
sick.
back too. LeBron. What's old is new.
I didn't know there was going to be a space.
I mean, allegedly. It's been reported.
You know every.
I know,
What?
I'm sorry. This one slipped by me, guys.
Yeah.
With Priyanka.
Hey.
Priyanka Cam. There's a Priyanka.
It's called a Priyanka cam, is what Elijah calls it.
Is there a Elijah cam?
We share. I'm in it. He's in my cam.
Cool. In it. Good.
Hey, quick shout out for Elijah. Subscribe to the Crooked Media YouTube channel.
Please do.
He gets paid in takes, so. Okay.
All right, let's take some questions.
Yeah. Okay. First one from Gracie Lou. She's asking, can we talk about why Michael Cohen gets to wait to surrender until March 6th? Talk about white effing privilege. She typed effing. Also, how does this affect Trump? They have to bring charges, right? If Cohen is guilty, so is Trump! Exclamation point.
Fire away.
I don't know why he gets to wait till March 6th. I don't know how that works.
Because the justice system is not just. If you have a lot of money and great lawyers, you probably get to push these things out. But I don't know.
Yes. I mean,
Cash bail is stupid. All these things.
the larger issue is the laws on the books do not treat white-collar crime as seriously as they should. Certainly not as serious as minor drug offenses. I just looked this up because I knew we were probably get one question like this. In Florida, if you have 20 grams or more of marijuana, which is a little more than half an ounce of the drug, you'll be convicted of a felony and will be required to spend 5 years in prison. Michael Cohen for multiple counts of tax fraud, criminal conspiracies, conspiracy against the United States, all the different crimes, is going to get 3 years. Now, I guess because he cooperated somewhat, half cooperation.
I'm really glad. This is a bit of a tangent. I'm really glad this criminal justice reform bill is moving through Congress. It kind of bothers me that Jared Kushner is driving this because his dad was arrested for trying to set up his stepbrother in some sex sting or whatever, and not because the drug laws in this country are just an abomination. But
Right.
to your point,
Glad that Jared has a soft spot for this. So what does it mean for Trump? If Cohen is indicted, does Trump have to be indicted? So there is a Department of Justice rule that says, or an opinion in the Department of Justice that says sitting presidents cannot be indicted. Now, some people believe there's some exceptions to that rule. Neil Katyal, who was a Solicitor General in the Obama administration, who also helped draft the special counsel regulations, said there's a few exceptions in his mind to this rule. One is if the crime was committed in order to obtain the presidency itself, which this one would be. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's we don't want to give candidates for president the incentive of saying you can commit a crime in order to obtain the office of the presidency, and if you win, you're off because sitting presidents can't get indicted. That doesn't seem to make much sense. So that could be one exception. Also, another exception is state crimes may be an exception too. But if Trump isn't indicted, then impeachment's almost a must. Because the reason you don't indict a sitting president is because you say, the reason these guidelines say is because, the president has so many jobs to do. He's the president of the United States. He can't be spending time in a trial. That would hurt the country, right?
on a day where he shows up to work at 2 p.m.
Right.
There's been reported repeatedly today that by 2 p.m. Eastern, still wasn't at work, tweeting, watching TV on the toilet or whatever he does.
I do not think the people that came up with the guidelines envisioned that the president would not usually come to work anyway.
Someone this lazy.
It's absolutely insane because he lives right above his office.
Yeah, he lives above the store.
Yep.
So the idea is you shouldn't have a president going through a trial while he's indicted. But the remedy then, if the president commits a crime, is supposed to be impeachment. And what we know now after today, not just Cohen's attorneys, not just the prosecutors, the federal judge himself today said that President Trump directed Michael Cohen to commit this crime. And the American Media Incorporated, which is the National Enquirer's parent company, also admitted to paying $150,000 today to quash the story for the purposes of concealing it before the 2016 election.
Yeah.
So that's more evidence now. It is without a doubt that Donald Trump directed Michael Cohen to commit a crime. It's not Michael Cohen's word. It's not anyone's word against anyone's. There is hard evidence. Now we have multiple people copying to this.
The thing that sucks is that when it comes to impeachment, we need Republicans to do the right thing and vote the right way. He will be gone, but not forgotten, Senator Orrin Hatch, one of the many individuals who's completely disgraced himself during the Trump administration. But he recently said, when asked about Trump's recent legal problems, "I don't care. All I can say is he's doing a good job as president." So that kind of craven, immoral bullshit is what we're up against. The other thing I just want to point out about Michael Cohen is he wasn't just Trump's lawyer and fixer. This guy was the deputy finance chair of the Republican National Committee.
I always forget that.
That's a huge job. And now he's going to 3 years in the pokey. The other guy was Elliot Broidy, who was working with all kinds of foreign craven creeps and conspiring and also, cutting these hush money deals. So, tough run for the RNC, the entire leadership of the Republican Party. Thank God you have Orrin Hatches and Paul Ryans to, hide from their obligations so that no one's going to face any accountability except for, I guess Cohen.
Yeah. So the final answer is Trump could still be indicted potentially, and if he is not because of these DOJ guidelines, it means that it's because he should be impeached or there should be impeachment proceedings. And if they don't happen, it's because, as Tommy pointed out, you need a whole bunch of Republicans in the Senate to go along with this. So that is where we are right now.
Gotcha. All right, we have this question from Yannick. How close are we to Mueller time for Trump family members and for Trump himself? Weeks, months, ever? Cohen's testimony should suffice, right?
We don't know. We're not in the prediction game here, but we do know that Donnie Jr. is in some trouble because you can't lie to Congress. No. For the kids watching, don't lie to Congress. Ivanka, Eric, they were on the board of the Trump Foundation. They have a fiduciary responsibility to the charity. So, there's a whole bunch of ways that those goobers could be in trouble.
Yeah, so I just saw this in Politico. The ultimate target of the New York federal criminal investigation may be the Trump Organization official dubbed Executive 2 in the charges against Cohen. In paragraph 38 of the Cohen charges, Executive 1, which is reportedly Alan Weisberg, who's the CFO, who has an immunity deal, who's cooperating, who flipped, sought approval for payments to Cohen from Executive 2 and then told another employee to pay from the trust. Executive 2 can only be one of three people: Don Jr., Eric Trump, or Ivanka.
Can we just pause on how fucked up it is to get a call from your CFO to approve a payment to your dad's mistress to quiet her for some
I didn't even think about
disgusting sexual tryst? What a wretched human being we have in charge of this country.
Where are we right now?
The studio.
What has happened here?
It's like they're the worst people in the world, and we never step back and remind ourselves, like, yeah, okay, Dad, here's your money.
For potential perjury, for his potential role in a conspiracy with a hostile power to influence an election because of the Trump Tower meeting, and now for approving illegal payments to quash stories from their dad's mistress, the Trump kids could be in trouble soon. Yeah, we don't know when or how.
And Ivanka used personal email, which we know is a capital offense.
Everyone's very upset about that.
Very upset. Lock her up, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, we're now switching gears to yesterday's wild meeting with Chuck and Nancy in the White House.
So crazy.
Crazy. This next question. Do you guys think Schumer did well in the Oval Office meeting? What could or should he have done differently?
I'd like to start with a positive.
Okay.
Nancy
Compliment
Pelosi.
sandwich.
Woo! Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy P.
What a fucking badass.
Total badass.
Just sitting there, staring him down, being like, well, if you have the votes, call the vote, Just like sip on her soda, put it down, just watch him unravel. It's fucking great. Chuck, listen, if you're citing the Washington Post's Pinocchios, you're losing the argument. The Washington Post, as you all may know, many years ago, decided to assign Pinocchios to people when they lied. What was the hilarious one Cody sent us the other day, whether Rutherford B. Hayes had a phone?
Yeah, right. Obama once said that Rutherford B. Hayes answered the phone or something, and then he got fact-checked to death because there weren't phones then.
Back in the day, that got us 3 Pinocchios. I would say the Pinocchios ranking system hasn't really kept up with the seriousness of the time, so it's sort of stupid and not something you should cite.
Not true, Tommy. The other day, they finally came up with a Pinocchio.
Bottomless.
It's called the bottomless Pinocchio.
It's like a fucking brunch with your buddies. Yeah, okay. Cool. Great one. So anyway, I would love to have seen Chuck and Speaker Pelosi, future Speaker Pelosi, and Schumer, I think, ultimately got out of it what they needed, which was Trump being like, I'm going to shut the government down, and like lit himself on fire, so that's good. I would like to have seen him take the bait a little less and been a little tougher the way she was.
Yeah. I mean, overall, we pay a lot of attention to theatrics around these things. And when it was the Republicans in power, and now that it's going to be the Democrats in the House, theatrics matter a lot less than who actually has power. And Donald Trump doesn't have votes for his wall. So Chuck and Nancy are winners for that reason alone. But if you're going to then judge the theatrics of that insane meeting, like I thought there was an interesting difference between Chuck and Nancy. Trump sort of like tries to draw them into this like tit for tat fight where he starts at one point talking about like, well, no, I need 10 seats, even though I won North Dakota and Indiana. And then Chuck Schumer's like, oh, can you believe him? He's bragging about winning North Dakota and Indiana. That's when you know he's in trouble. And it's like, that's sort of an example of Trump throwing out the bait and you like always just take the bait. Now you're in the dirt with him talking about like fucking electoral victories.
Making a joke for the press pool.
Right.
Only they understand.
Yeah, I just never think you come out stronger after that. But Pelosi is just sitting there calmly explaining to Donald Trump, like, you don't have the votes. If you have the votes, you should call the vote in the House. This is how it's going to work. This is what's out. And she just like calmly laid it out and didn't really allow herself to get sucked in by Trump's little baiting.
In my little fantasy world, Chuck would have said, look, I know you're really upset about what the special counsel did. We can get past that, but I hope that won't bleed into policy. And
That would have been a good one.
But, you know.
But they both did okay because they're, Trump said in the meeting, I'm at fault for a shutdown and I'll take all the blame, which Schumer looked like he was going to jump out of the chair and start cheering.
Truly.
So.
Fun meeting.
Yeah.
This next question, you guys hit the majority of the beginning part, but Danny is asking, should we expect a shutdown? And after what happened yesterday, do Dems risk taking blame for it? If so.
It feels like we're careening towards a shutdown. I think, what would it last, like 13, 14 days or something, until January 3rd, until the new Congress takes over?
Yeah, though then I still don't know how they get out of it then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about Democrats taking blame when you have a soundbite of the president taking the blame. I don't think the wall is stupid. No one wants a stupid wall. He fucking said Mexico would pay for it. They're not going to pay for the wall. So I'll have this fight.
He's playing the politics of this all wrong. He believes border security is popular and the wall is popular. The wall's not popular with anyone but his base. Border security is broadly popular, but if you ask people, if the president doesn't get all the border security funding he wants or the wall that he wants, would you be happy shutting down the federal government? No one's going to be supportive of that.
Yeah.
Very few people are going to be supportive of that. Maybe his own base and not much more. So I think there's no risk that the Democrats get blamed for Donald Trump saying, I'll keep the government closed unless you give me my very unpopular wall.
You lost, loser.
You lost. That's what
Thank
Schumer
you
should
next.
have said.
That's what they should have said. Fuck.
Really quick before we move on to what else is going on in the world, can we go over what the consequences of a government shutdown would be?
This is an interesting one because this would not be a full shutdown. Many of the agencies in government are funded already through other appropriations bills, so this would be a partial shutdown. So I think it's the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, though the special counsel's work continues, because I know everyone's going to be interested in that, and a few other agencies. So the people who work in those agencies, in the Department of Homeland Security and others, would be furloughed. They wouldn't be able to come to work until the shutdown is ended. Any services provided by the government to people are cut off. A lot of federal employees won't get paid, the ones who don't come to work, so that's not good. The economy usually takes a hit during a shutdown.
Yeah, it's not
Anything
good.
else?
It's not good. But
It's not great.
It's not. We've seen a bunch of them now, and like the world hasn't ended. So
The world hasn't ended.
Knock
It's
on
just
wood.
it's a dumb thing, and then the question is how you get out of it. And I don't know how we get out of this one except for Trump deciding to cave and saying, all right, I'll take a couple $2 billion in border security and I'll get my wall later.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. I think we're moving on outside of the United States. This one is for Tommy. She wants your take on what's going on with Huawei and I forget her name, the arrest situation in Canada and how that plays into Trump and China and everything that's going on.
Yeah, the CFO, or last name is Meng. I forget her first name. Yeah, so the daughter of the founder of Huawei, which is the second biggest smartphone maker in the world, biggest in China, was arrested in Canada, where she was in there for a layover, I think, for allegedly covering up efforts to circumvent U.S. sanctions on Iran and sell them stuff. So that's a no-no. Huawei is a especially fraught company because it's seen as having links to the PLA, the Chinese military, and intelligence services. It's a company that U.S. intelligence agencies have suggested that Americans not use because there's a concern that they could put back doors into the technology that would allow them to spy on people and whatnot. They're a big competitor to companies like Apple and Samsung. So, we've called for extradition, I believe. It will likely get politicized and pulled into the whole bunch of issues we have with China right now in terms of trade and the trade war and IP theft and this massive hack of Marriott and other places. So it's a mess. It has the potential to be a much, much bigger mess. So, it's something to watch for sure.
Alrighty, and now we also want to know what's going on with Theresa May, the vote
Yeah.
of no confidence that happened very recently.
Just now, I think.
Yeah, just now.
So she survived the no confidence vote. She got 200 conservatives, 117 voted against her, which is a pretty big protest vote. So
Your own
she,
party,
she shouldn't feel good. The background is on Monday, she postponed a vote on her Brexit deal, which everyone really seems to hate. No one really seems to understand, but they know they hate it. So Theresa May was pushing this thing forward. She negotiated the best deal she thought she could with the EU. The EU was literally like, fuck off, don't come back to us again. We're not going to do this. So she tried to ram it through. She didn't have the votes. She tried to pull it back. Now she's trying to renegotiate with the EU. This is just a disaster. It's just a mess.
I listened to Rhodes talk about this on Pod Save the World with you. It's so fascinating because it does seem like the people who campaigned on leave basically just lied to every person in the UK and said, "Oh, we can get all these wonderful things. We'll be able to leave. There'll be no more problems." Blah blah blah. And it's just not true. And now they're forced to do it, and they're gonna be screwed.
They're like, we'll funnel all this money into our national health services. We'll do this. We'll save this. We'll save that. I mean, it's a disaster. It's a total disaster, right? And all the architects, the Nigel Farages of the world, the Boris Johnsons, these grifters are all like, well, I don't know, not my problem. So, not great. Tough politics for Theresa May, but it's also like I don't know who can fix this. These are going to be very complicated, fraught negotiations over all kinds of minutia for decades.
Could there be another vote?
I mean, I guess there could be. It's funny. The New York Times did this. One of those charts. It's like sort of like choose your own adventure, like splintering. Like it is just there's like 4,000 combinations of what could happen. Nobody has any idea.
Messy.
Truly. Also messy. We now have a question about Maria Butina's plea and Putin's response. Tommy, what's your input?
I don't know. It's fascinating.
What did Putin say?
So I don't know that I saw what he specifically said. I saw what state TV was saying.
Yeah.
Which is they were running pieces. Russian state TV was running pieces saying that she had been tortured.
Yeah.
And that she was forced to change her plea or whatever. So I don't know. This is cool. If the NRA goes down too, that'd be exciting.
Yeah. It seems like her boyfriend is basically admitting that he was...
You mean the goober who was like... He wrote notes to himself and was like, "Should I accept FSB offer? ? And they found him when they raided his house.
The FSB is Russian intelligence.
Yeah, well, like, why would you should I commit crime? To self.
Note to self: figure out whether you want to commit a crime or not.
The
Journaling
treason?
is self-care,
Why
guys.
treason?
Was he journaling?
I don't know. I think he was just taking notes in the margins of things, but
Did you say journaling is self-care?
he just wanted to write about it. Wanted to have like a little record.
That may be true, but it's bad criminaling.
Yeah.
It's bad treason.
I mean, I think that's like
Good
everybody.
self-care. Good self-care short term. Bad self-care long term.
Treason best practices. Anyway.
All right, and now we're going to move on to France. Besides the
Bonjour.
known rejection of a fuel tax, we know Macron's not doing that. Why, or do the French seem to hate him? What's going on? I know there's a bunch of new. He spoke, I think, on Monday and had a bunch of new things he was doing in response to the protests that have been happening.
So this protest started as people being pissed off about a gasoline tax increase. And gas is really expensive in France. I think it's like $7 a gallon, so it's pretty brutal. Yeah. It also, I think, exacerbated a feeling of class frustration among the elites and people out in rural areas who really need their cars to get around and do their jobs and don't like Macron anyway because they feel like they're very highly taxed. And that this was like a climate agenda that he thought, burnished his reputation on the world stage. He has this new party that they basically, I think it's called Bon March or On March, that they invented like a couple of years ago. So it's a very...
Like the Innovation Party?
Yeah, the Innovation Party. That's a
no
joke.
Labels.
That's a joke making fun of Axios for those watching at home. Not the people who work there, just the founders. Jim and I. So he's viewed as too close to business, kind of elitist. The protests about the gas tax have morphed into a broader class cultural thing where you have like farmers out protesting and students who are pissed off about debt. So it's like kind of a nationalist, populist microcosm of what we see in a lot of places.
Yeah, like if you're going to levy a gas tax or a fuel tax in order to reduce, transportation that emits fossil fuels, the way to do that to hold low and middle income people harmless is to do something where, you raise the fuel tax, but then you cut payroll taxes so that everyone is. Yeah, that would be like how you do a carbon tax in a way that's not regressive. Fucking Macron decided to raise the fuel tax, use the revenue to cut the deficit, and then he also cut corporate taxes for companies. So he's sort of like, he's the centrist, but he's bringing together all the worst sides of both ideologies and fueling, a populist revolt. I mean, there's already sort of an anti-immigrant sentiment like that has been sweeping Europe for a while. And if you add on top of that, like a bunch of leaders who are like cutting taxes for the wealthy and taking care of rich people and not taking care of people who are economically struggling, you're going to eventually get protests like this.
There's rumors that Ira Madison III actually sparked the protests. He was like that Tunisian fruit vendor when he was over there. If you can,
did Ira light himself on fire?
Metaphorically, with some takes.
He does that every Wednesday.
Do you know, this is a question from me and no one who's asking, if the minimum wage hike that Macron was talking about on Monday and things that he was saying like in response to all these people being really upset, like here are some things I'm going to do. I haven't really seen anything after. Do we know how that's being received by people who are protesting the Yellow Vest movement?
I had the same question, and I think it's too soon to know. I mean, the problem when you get these Facebook-fueled protests that are just taking off is there's so much misinformation out there that at this point, even if Macron proposes a whole bunch of measures like minimum wage hikes and all that kind of stuff, who knows how long it takes to sort of disseminate out into the public of people who are up there protesting.
Yeah, and there's also not like a leader of the Yellow Vest movement. It's just sort of distributed. So there's no one to negotiate with. So I think he's in some trouble.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to questions about Yemen and Saudi Arabia.
Oh, uplifting.
This one is another one specifically addressed to you, Tommy. What would the actual implications be if the resolution against Saudi Arabia passes the Senate, and what weight would it have?
Well, I think what it would do is cut off our ability to support the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen. So we wouldn't be able to sell them arms for use over there. We wouldn't be able to do refueling of their jets because they really need us to help them with mid-air refueling, which is not hard but is really important if you want to keep up the clip of bombings. So it would be a big, big deal. It would be a huge rebuke of Trump. It is the obvious, morally right thing to do.
Why did we support the Saudi-led coalition in the first place?
There was during the Arab Spring, it got to Yemen early, but eventually it sort of took out Ali Abdullah Saleh, who was the president at the time. And during that period of instability, the Houthi rebels started fighting even more vociferously. That's the wrong word. It got nastier. I think they took the capital for a little while, and then they ended up aligning with Salah's former military forces. So it became this big movement that could like unseat the government and sort of, completely destabilize things. So I think we got involved in it because Mohammed bin Salman and his cronies wanted to. It was probably a terrible idea then. I mean, there was like legitimate concern about the Houthi rebels. Like they're not good actors. I don't think that they're like Iranian troops. They get support from the Iranian government. They get weapons and boats, shipments of shit and stuff to use against them. But there was a real threat from those rebels to like. Remember they launched like a huge missile in Riyadh that one time. It's pretty intense stuff. So anyway, we started providing them. We started supporting them in that coalition. It got out of hand. Obama administration peeled back some of that support, though they should have gone much further. And then Trump came in and he just let them do what they want.
Got it.
So it sucked.
So if this passes the Senate, or even if it passes the House as well, it's still in Trump's hands, right?
Well, it would cut off. I mean, one thing that Congress can really do is cut off arms sales. So we could stop this from happening, or like use the War Powers Resolution to like fully cut off our involvement there. It passed the Senate. I think it was 60-37, but the House.
Did you see the Farm Bill thing?
Yeah, some rider got attached to the Farm Bill,
Yeah.
which stripped out any Yemen-related language from it, and a bunch of Democrats voted with the Republicans to strip out the Yemen language from the Farm Bill, and we should just hammer those.
Five Democrats?
Five Democrats. People like Dutch Ruppersberger, which is a real name. Jim Costa, David Scott, Colin Peterson. They should really be ashamed of themselves. And then, unfortunately, 7 people abstained, which probably just means they were out of town.
Still
but it
close
sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah.
It's demoralizing.
All right. Hopefully this turn to 2020 questions.
Yeah.
We'll pick it back up for our stream here. This question's from Alyssa. We're working with Rumor Mill, I guess. She recently heard someone float the idea that if things keep getting worse, Trump won't run in 2020 and the GOP will instead run Nikki Haley. That terrifies me. What do you think about this scenario? We all talk about the inevitability of Trump as the nominee. What if he isn't?
There are a few things that surprise me these days. Donald Trump choosing not to run for re-election would be the biggest.
Yeah.
He is such an intense fucking narcissist that I think the idea that he would either resign or pull a Lyndon Johnson and say, I will not be running for re-election is so far from. I mean, I guess the only way you'd resign is if if he thought he was going to jail. And the deal was, all right, resign, and you get a pardon, and you get out of jail or something. Like, maybe you could see that, but everything we know about Donald Trump, everything we've heard from him, everything we've seen from him, seems like he is a guy who's going to stick it out until the bitter, bitter end. And so I also think the way that the Republican Party is, because it's basically his party now, the only way you could primary Donald Trump, I think, is from the right. If you had a bunch of, you see the Ann Coulters out there being like, they're upset with Trump now because he didn't build the wall fast enough, right? If you have some people from his right, God help us all, who start saying he didn't fulfill his promise to build the wall, he didn't do enough on immigration, he didn't do enough on this, then maybe you could see some sort of a challenge to him. But the idea that there is going to be a challenge from his left or from the center in the Republican Party, like a Nikki Haley or a John Kasich, I don't know who in the Republican primary is going to vote for that, because these people have all been radicalized to support Donald Trump and his policies and his agenda, no matter what he does.
Yeah, his super racist core base, that vote doesn't transfer to somebody else.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So I think for Nikki Haley, it's like, if Donald Trump is out of office and not in the picture, can she run and win the nomination in 2024 or something? And I don't know. I don't know if she wants to get as Trumpy as he is.
TBD, I suppose.
Yeah.
We're on to the fun stuff now. Madison asks a great question. If pundit Leo and Luca ran for president, what would each of their campaign slogans be?
Leo, what do you think? You got Leo here.
Oh, Leo looks so content on the floor.
Here. Leo's would be treats you can believe in, maybe?
Treats you can believe in.
Leo 2020. Throw the ball.
Yeah, throw the ball. Throw the ball.
That's all he
Build
wants.
that ball. Luca would just offer lots of face licks and pledge to wake you up at 4:45 in the morning, at least twice a week.
Right.
That would be her platform.
And pundits would just be more barking.
They'd be like,
All right, this is a rapid fire question from Leslie.
Rapid.
What music is currently on your playlists?
Oh boy. I'm listening to some holiday music. I gotta have some Christmas music. Well, let's look at my top songs of 2018. There's a lot of garbage on
Oh
here.
boy.
A lot of garbage
This is where
on
it
here.
all comes out.
But I have, what do I have?
I have my phone with
I
me.
want to amend Leslie's question to read your, the top
I got
10 in that
65th and
playlist.
Ingleside, Nice for What, This Is America. I have to say, there's some Hamilton on here. There's some A Star Is Born on here.
Hannah maybe
John.
was playing a bunch of Hamilton in our car the other day, and we were like pulling to a sort of public place. I was like, turn that down. This is like kind of embarrassing that you're shouting along to this.
The Hamilton stuff is on from last year at this time because that's when I finally saw Hamilton. So that was, I haven't been listening to it
Okay, wait, what
recently.
song from A Star Is Born? Or, like,
Shallow
which one?
is on here,
Okay.
obviously.
I mean, I was hoping it was a Lady Gaga one where like everyone said that she sold out, but actually she sounded great.
No, yeah, I don't like that song as much.
I haven't seen
As
it.
much.
As
All
much
right.
as something like, it's a
All
good
right.
soundtrack though. Anyway, yeah, those are some of mine.
Tommy, any input from you?
I'm trying to remember. I was listening to that Travis Scott album a bunch lately. I forget. I don't know.
It's cool. You're cool. You
cool.
gave a cool answer. Whatever. All right, this one's from Connor. He's asking if Crooked Media is doing a Secret Santa.
White Elephant. That's what we were told
Yankee
to call
swap.
it. Yankee Swap for the New
You're
Englanders.
the only person I've ever heard. What a
That's what my mom
You've
calls
heard
it.
Yankee
It's
Swap?
a New England thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway.
It's like a bunch of cheap New England.
Did you guys get your presents yet?
no,
No.
thank you. I have to do that.
It's on
What is
Friday.
It, Wednesday? It's on Friday.
This Friday?
we're doing.
This Friday.
I gotta get that. I gotta go sometime.
I don't know
had
if
a
people are
great
going to
one
like
What
my
did
present.
What did I have last year?
What were some of the good ones last year? There was
You got like
I had
a
board
game. Yeah, it was
board
fun.
game. Oh, you had it was like a beer pongy kind of
Oh, that's
board
right.
game, right? Like launched into a cup. Someone got an electric car. I think Lovett.
Oh my God,
Not like
yeah.
a real electric car.
There was
but-
the dogs pooping calendar that I think Corinne bought.
That was a great one.
That was a good one.
There was Elijah's John Cena DVD.
Elijah got John Cena's greatest hits DVD.
Tour manager wasn't happy with that one.
no.
No, yeah, I understand.
a couple of bottles. A couple of people did bottles of
Oh,
alcohol.
I think I did we used to be right next to a Bevmo, so I
Tommy really.
did the
got
1999 dollar of wine. It was fun. I'm excited. We have a lot of holiday cheer here at the Crooked Media.
A lot.
We had a big party last Friday.
We had a
Where everyone
menorah
was on their
lighting
best
ceremony.
behavior.
We had a menorah lighting ceremony.
We had
We have a
big
cookie
party.
exchange.
We have a cookie exchange, which is
gonna be
a separate
great.
day.
What is the cookie? This is the first I've heard
Everyone
of it.
bakes a
That's not
batch of
this-
cookies, and then everyone gets some of everyone's cookies.
That's a week from Friday.
Yeah.
Hannah made chocolate covered matzah, and it was like
It was so good.
unbelievable.
Wait,
there
that sounds amazing, but I
there's some
realized
salt on it,
if it's
too.
a week from Friday, I'm not gonna be here.
Priyanka, change your flight.
Okay. This is our last question, from a friend of the pod, Senator Brian Schatz, who responded during this live stream.
Wow.
Has a question for you guys. He's wondering when you guys are coming to Honolulu.
We want to.
Future majority leader shots.
And can I come?
I would love to go. My wife really wants to go in February.
We're
'cause
going
she
in
went
February.
once. I know you are. You stole her trip.
You guys want to come with us?
She has some specific things she wants to do. There's a place where you can see whales. You can paddle out to them. That's what I want to do.
The real question I think there is when are we going to do a show there?
Yeah,
we
well,
want to do a show.
We took
there.
this where we wanted to go.
We
We actually looked into it.
we had looked into it. We thought about doing because we did a couple places in Europe last January, and so we thought about another January trip. It just didn't come together in time. But one of the ideas was to stop and to maybe do a show in Honolulu. I think I want to do it at some
Only
point.
if Senator Schatz is in town.
Yeah, that'll be.
It's not worth it otherwise.
So sometimes we'll get there.
Wanna go
But
to-
I'll be there in February.
Go to Punahou. See
Oh
Obama's
yeah,
old stomping
Obama's
grounds.
old stomping grounds.
What else would be cool?
Chim Gang.
Chim Gang. Different trip. I was going to say Pearl Harbor, but yeah, Chim Gang.
Anyway, we'll get there eventually.
Cool. Senator Schatz, we'll have our people. Call your people. It'll be great. And that's it for the stream.
Woo!
Good
Thanks for
stream.
watching, everybody.
Good stream.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, happy holidays.
I guess there'll be one next week,
Yeah.
so
Say bye,
say
Leo.
it again. Good boy.
You can talk about your presents.